dangerous back-end point ecosystem, managing your pipeline and moving them along the pipeline and closing. If either of those two areas are busted, your whole process falls apart and your build is clunky, it's horrible, bubblegum and toothpicks. So join me on this episode of Giant TV. I'll break it down. It's gonna be very helpful for you. Let's go jump in.
Hey, this is Paul, and I just want to jump into this and talk about the two pillars, broadly speaking, to grow and nurture business. It's the front end and the back end. On the front end, it's creating all the activity that gets people into your touchpoint ecosystem, as I call it. And I'm going to show you that in a second here. Then on the back end, it's once people come into your touchpoint ecosystem, then how are you moving them through your pipeline. And these two got to work together. If one is broken, the whole thing falls apart. And so let's jump into this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So on the front end, this is the create, where you're creating the activity. All the stuff going on starts with your personal brand. You've got to elevate your personal brand. We all have a huge opportunity to do that. You got to lead with this, because when you're reaching out to people and creating this activity, they're going to make value judgments about you. They're going to look at you. There's fierce competition out there. I work with a lot of executive coaches, Vistage chairs. For example, there's over 1 million executive coaches on LinkedIn alone. And so all those people, I mean, you think you're the only one reaching out to CEOs, C-suite executives, think again, competition is fierce. How are you going to separate yourself from everybody else? And so you've got to get the brand going. It's fun, a lot of tools, and I want to control my story. Meaning that when people see me, I want them to know what I'm about. I want to make a great first impression, want to optimize my LinkedIn profile. There's a lot of bells and whistles LinkedIn gives you, and they're updating that all the time, that you can use to optimize your profile to stand out. And so it's like real life. When you go in and meet somebody at a networking event, you want to put your best foot forward. Same way when you're reaching out digitally on platforms and email and all these places. You want to have your best foot forward, be different, be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. And so, is your LinkedIn profile, for example, elevated? Are you using all the tools? Have you looked into Cover Story, the animated GIF around your photo? That's a little video. Do you have your name pronunciation video? Do you have media up on your site? As your services section, which LinkedIn just updated, is that going on? Do you have creator mode turned on? All these things you can do for your brand. Do you have it going on? Because people notice and you want to be different than everybody else. And people make judgments just to even get on a Zoom or a phone call with you based on what they see. So it is a big deal. Also, LinkedIn's judging you and they're scoring you 1 to 100. It's called your social selling index. Do you know what this is? You know how it works? There's 4 quadrants they measure. And if you're not playing by the rules on LinkedIn, they're going to make you irrelevant on the platform. And branding plays into this, and all the tools they give you to use, they want you to use them. So big deal here. Get your brand tight. What are the colors, fonts, images that represent you? It matters. And having brand consistency wherever you're showing up, you have consistency of brand. So people become familiar with you, and it's a big deal. All right. Now there's lead generation. This is where you're creating your network, building your network, reaching out, connecting, all the things we all need to do. And so how are you handling lead generation? And there are proper ways to do this. Sales Navigator is a great tool on LinkedIn. If you know that platform, there are ways where you can niche down to your target market and then reach out to these people. And you've got to really understand all the tools on Navigator, because there's some specialized things you can do on there to get your right audience. I work with a lot of Vistage chairs, for example, and we get pretty targeted on there with people they need to work with. But so then you're reaching out, you're building a network. And this lead generation is about the language you use to reach out. What is the copywriting you're using? That really does matter. We're all getting pitched endlessly today on all the platforms. This isn't about pitching people. This is about networking professionally, doing it right. It's also about using tools, automation tools, and scaling tools to do this right. There's just incredible tools to help take the labor off your plate in order to make this efficient and scale. And the idea is get a huge network on LinkedIn, for example, because the bigger network you have of the right people, the more noise you can make. And the right people end up finding you when you have more activity going on your profile. So big network of the right network is a really important scenario. And so this has got to be done right. Professional, all the elements plugged in, and connecting with people and so forth. Video marketing, huge. No longer a choice. It's mandatory. Because your prospects, CEOs, C-suite executives, advisors, they're demanding video. Wise Owl is a big media company that puts out a video report every year. They interview marketers, they interview end users and prospects. I interviewed for the 2023 report a couple weeks ago. They interviewed me. And what Wise Owl shows you every year is CEOs, C-suite executives are saying, we'd rather watch a video to learn about your product or service versus reading about it. Demand is there. The top 3 most visited sites in the world are TikTok, Google, and YouTube. Talk about video. It's no argument. Video's huge. All the platforms are pushing it. People want it. And so are you incorporating video in the build out and nurturing of your practice and your marketing, your content? Is video incorporated into your content? Because what most people do is they share other people's content, which does nothing for them. It doesn't push you up as an authority figure. As a matter of fact, the algorithms can't stand when people share all this other people's content. Everyone else is using the same content. They push you down. And so you've got to have your own content and make you the expert so that people know, like, and trust you. And video goes a long way in having original content where you're guiding, teaching, helping, offering solutions through video marketing. So there's a fun, efficient way to do this. It's not about, becoming a Hollywood star or spending a ton of money on buying equipment. You can do this done right, and you can get your people to actually see it, the right people, because a lot of people send out content and nobody's looking at it. So there are ways through tagging on LinkedIn and other platforms to make sure people are actually seeing your content, the people you want to see it. Email is a big deal. People tend to poo-poo this because it's been around forever. We all have email. Email is important. And if you do this right, again, being proactive, guiding, teaching, helping, having conversations through email with your network. So have a process for collecting email, getting it into your distribution platform. I love Constant Contact. And then being consistent with having an email at least every other week go out to your community where you're guiding, teaching, helping, offering solutions. Your community. What do they want to hear about? And when you do this, your open rates are great, and you're engaging with your network. So email, very important. Don't dismiss this. Virtual events, everybody's online today. This is a huge, huge platform. I call these LinkedIn webinars to sell and market. And LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn events are tools we all have. LinkedIn just rolled out recently LinkedIn Audio. But this is where you have events going on monthly, as frequently as every month, and where you have your channel, your branded, remember your brand, your personal media channel. You create your channel, content flows through there, and you have these events where you're guiding, teaching, helping, offering solutions. And for example, I work with a lot of Vistage chairs, and they'll have these incredible guests that I help source for them on their show. And these are top speakers to CEOs across the country. So now they're on the show, and this is a pre-recorded video that we stream live on LinkedIn using LinkedIn Events, LinkedIn Live. It streams live on YouTube and Facebook company pages. It goes out, and this is a virtual event, and we handpick the people that these Vistage chairs, or executive coaches in a sense, want to work with. And so these people show up, and now you can engage before, during, and after these events. This is an awesome channel. It's blowing up. It's going great. This has got to be just part of your growth and nurture of your business. And, you become the lead singer of the rock band. You're at the front of the stage, you're out there, people see you, and these just flat out work. Love this channel, virtual events. So now you're creating all this activity on the front end. So now the back end, this is where people come into your touchpoint ecosystem. Now, what do? And there's a process here, and I want to talk about these 4 areas. So first of all, what you want to do, of course, what we all want to do, you want to get somebody on a Zoom, not a phone call, a Zoom. Anytime you can get somebody in a video, a Zoom, it's much better than a phone call. So you want to get them on a Zoom. But then I go through every phase here of how do you get them on a Zoom, right? So there's strategy just to get them on a Zoom, because we all know that can be a bottleneck in the process. People ghost you or they don't book, and it's all frustrating. And so how do you do this? And so a couple things to mention here. Number one is pause when you get a prospect and think about, okay, they responded, they're in my touchpoint ecosystem, great. Now I got to get them on a Zoom. And so pause and think about how can you wow them, show up in a unique way in order to get them on a Zoom. And as I use my tools, my conversion rates for getting on a Zoom have skyrocketed. And this is what you want to do. So a couple things. One is there's when you get connected on LinkedIn, you now can send a video message on your LinkedIn mobile app, and you can send an audio message, but you can send a video message up to 2 minutes long. And so imagine you're connected, somebody responds, go to your mobile phone, pull the person up, message them, do a video. You got 2 minutes, and I usually send a video that's 45 seconds to a minute, and then you send it, and there's the right agenda to go through and just book in the Zoom. Is be authentic, and tell them you want to hear about their business, go through, what you say and make it a valuable video, but you send that video and then it shows up in the LinkedIn messaging app as your face with a play button on it. Human nature takes over. Everyone's going to listen to it, and you can embed your calendar link in there. And I love Calendly, and this is the process. Hey, you say your thing. I'd love to get on a, Zoom, blah, blah, blah. And then, excuse me, you send the video, and Calendly, the Chrome extension, integrates with LinkedIn. Very cool. So you can just copy and plug in your Calendly link into the LinkedIn messaging. So now you have a video going out, calendar link, and you have this high level touch point. And video is so powerful because they see you, they hear your voice, they see you have a nice haircut, you're articulate. That goes a long way to somebody actually booking the Zoom. So there's a battle there to get them on a Zoom. Think about doing this. Next level is an app I use called BombBomb, which is a video messaging app. I love it. It's incredible. It also integrates with LinkedIn. It's got a Chrome extension, and it embeds in the LinkedIn messaging app. So you can send a video message from your desktop with BombBomb. It's great. Record it right there. Next level. Again, same concept. They hear me. They see my voice. They see me. I'm authentic. I'm a nice guy and genuinely curious about them, want to get on a Zoom and so forth, and just hype up that Zoom call where it's worthwhile for both of us. So conversions skyrocket when you do things this way, just to even get somebody on a Zoom call. All right. Number 2 is, what do you do when you get them on a Zoom call? So you have to have a tight agenda, and you got to control it. Remember, this is an outbound lead. They didn't reach out to you because they knew they had an issue and they're looking for help. You reached out to them. They may not even know they have an issue, but importantly, you've got to control the whole flow and cadence of this thing, because you're the one that's driving the bus here. So number 2, they get on a Zoom. What are you going to do on the Zoom? So here's the agenda for the Zoom. You get on the Zoom, and obviously you thank them. Hey, thanks so much for getting on the Zoom. I know you're very busy. I really appreciate it. So just a quick thank you, to them, because they did take time to do this. Everybody's busy. So you do that. Then you immediately want to humanize that interaction. By that, I mean, make sure you've looked at their profile. People are putting a lot of stuff on their profile today. It's you can see a lot about people, things they care about, they're passionate about. So you humanize it. pull something out from their profile. And maybe it's something like, hey, I saw in your profile that founded a nonprofit for, women in leadership, girls, leadership. I love that. I'm raising 3 girls of my own, which I am, and a boy. But that really stood out to me because I'm always looking at these things. I'd love to hear more about that. And so you humanize it where it's something that it's really important to them, and you get them talking about that a bit. And people love talking about things they really care about, and they love talking about themselves in general. So humanize it right away. Then you go into the relevancy of why you're talking. This is a business reason, and hey, I see that you're a dentist, and I work very closely with dentists on the back office organization of their CRMs, blah, blah, blah. So whatever your business thing is, now you make it relevant. And this is then where it gets into them talking about their business. Hey, let me hear about your business, So it's really, you're a talk show host and they're featured. And so now people are going to talk about the business. They already like you, you've humanized it. Now you're getting into the business. They're talking. And then as you're directing this, it's going to flow into what you do, of course. But as you listen to them, maybe ask a few probing questions, what you offer to this person you talk to. So you're going to ask questions that will highlight for you opportunities where you may be able to help them. Not that you're going to close them on this call, you're not, but you're going to just start to really say, okay, I see where there's some holes in what they're doing, where I help and I see strengths and all that. So that's really important, the relevancy. Then you got to have a call to action. You cannot have calls that are just fluffy, that go nowhere. We're all too busy for that. And so what is your call to action? What is that next step? And, this can be difficult sometimes because if, people don't always have this wired, but you can't just have this dangling out there, hang up and no next step. So what is your next step here on the call to action? And, again, for Vistage chairs, I'll give you an example. I have a chair talking about this the other day, and his call to action is he gets on the Zoom, does his thing. He wants to go meet him. He wants to go kick the tires at the business, go meet him, maybe meet a couple of the managers. So it is setting a meeting before he gets off the phone to go to their business, and that's his call to action. Others have different ways of doing this. Maybe, I have some clients where it's a demo. The next step is, hey, we're talking about this. I'd love to share my screen and walk you through some of these things I think pertain to your business. So it's another Zoom, and you're doing a demo where you're getting into detail and getting, into the weeds. So what is your call to action? Got to have it, and you've got to move the flow along to get there. All right. So then you go to 3 is after you hang up, you got to get this person in your touch point ecosystem process. Meaning you got to just continue to nurture them, drip on them at a high level as you're moving them along. You're keeping, you keep talking to them. You're going to try to, close them later on. You got to stay front and center. So how you can do that? Email, as I meant, email nurture is a great way to do it. Content tagging, as you're doing great content, your videos, stuff you're guiding, helping, teaching, you're tagging them so they're seeing your content, and you're developing, a likability with them. Events. So remember the virtual events, you're inviting these people consistently as you go forward to the killer events you're doing. Again, you're not selling them, asking them to do something. You're nurturing as you're prepping to ask them. So, and also your auto nurturing. So there's processes where you can set up automation to nurture, invite people through LinkedIn, for example, to events. You can auto nurture. So you have automated nurture campaigns going on, and there are tools behind the scenes that allow you to do this. But we do this for clients. But you have nurture campaigns to your network, inviting them to events, and then you have them on your show. So remember the virtual events you're doing. A great tool is to invite prospects to be on your show and interview them about their business, and have them strategically, on your show. You're Zooming it, recording it, and then you can live stream that as a show and incorporate them in the marketing of that. So there's a very unique way to do this, and this is a great way to ingratiate yourself and continue interacting with them. Okay, So you have them in your pipeline. Then you get to 4, obviously, is the closing. And how are you closing? Are you getting people to this process? Is your process leading up to this very tight? What are you doing right here? And again, I'll go back to Vistage Share where, there's a structure there at the corporate level to, reach out, connect, get on a Zoom. Then they have, the first meeting and, it's a sort of information exchange, and they go and they get to the closing. And, chairs personalize that, but I have one chair where, does the Zoom and then goes to the business to meet with them. And that can be combo information exchange. Now you're getting into the weeds and the closing. Because if you get the buy signs and you're there meeting face to face, you can close and go right there. So that can work. And so what is your process? And, what is your selling cycle? You always got to think about your selling cycle. How big of an ask do you have? Maybe you're not meeting people face to face at all because you don't need to, or maybe you have to or should be doing that, or inviting them to one of your member meetings, or you have a group, or whatever the case is, or getting them exposure to a current client or current member you're working with as part of your closing process. Hey, I'd like you to talk to my member, and if you have content that you put together. So if I go back here, for example, the virtual events we do is, as an introduction to what you're doing. I have a whole system for, again, Vistage shares on an introduction to Vistage, top of the sales funnel. That is a great tool where when you're working somebody through your pipeline is to send them, say, hey, I have this introduction to Vistage. You'll love to see it. I have a great speaker on this. You'll see a couple of my members talking. Here it is. Send them the link because it's on YouTube, and they'll go watch that. It's their peers that are in the area, other CEOs. So just as an example, that could be part of your closing process along the way as you're touching them here and then get ready to close them here. Okay, so takeaway here is front end and back end. Got to have both, got to be airtight, got to be working together, create all this activity up here, and then move them through the pipeline back here and have ways to continue to nurture them every step of the way. So thank you as always, and don't ever hesitate to reach out to me if you want to talk about your own business, what's working, what's not working. Would love to talk with you wherever you're watching this video, because I stream this everywhere. You know how to get a hold of me. Look forward to talking. Thanks so much.